everyone. Good to see you again. So, the last video talked about being aware of others and reaching out and trying to make connections with them because they may not be able to connect with other people, and you could be that difference that is helping them to get to that point. What I want to share with you this time is God's lesson for me in that situation. So I was reading Better Together by Rick Warren, and this is through YouVersion, and I love reading their devotional plans. Sometimes I read with other people, so if you ever want to join, invite me. I love reading them and sharing thoughts together as a way of connecting with one another. But he talked about there's two types: isolation versus imitation. And in Romans 12:16, be in the same mind as one another. Do not be haughty in mind, but associate with lowly. Do not be wise in your own estimate. And what this brings me to is that I was in a place of isolation. I had come to that point where I had really become broken, as I spoke to before. And even though I went to the church, that and I didn't feel that I had received what I wanted to receive, but that wasn't God's lesson for me. He was trying to teach me to reach out to others and to connect with others. So when I wasn't getting what I felt that I needed, that ultimately led me to call a friend. And I didn't call, I actually sent a message, and it just simply said, hey. Well, that person ended up calling me, and we talked for a long time. And then when we hung up, she had called another one of our friends, and then we talked for a long time, and she ultimately really helped me and was instrumental in getting me out of the place that I was, because I was so broken mentally, and which, when you become mentally spent, you often become physically spent. So I couldn't even do anything. But God had wanted me to not give up and try to reconnect. And these two people just so happened to be people that had been in my life for a long time. And ironically, we had known each other before any of us had went down the Christ journey, and now all of a sudden here we are reconnecting and through Christ. So just another testament of how wonderful God can work. So that was ultimately his lesson, is he wanted me to learn to reconnect. Now, isolation and reconnecting with people, that journey has not always, it's not a short journey. Like, it's been a year now on this journey after 37 years of being away from Christ, that I have since fully accepted and submitted to God and committed to him on his journey. And in one of the other lessons that God has really given me is 2 Timothy 1:7, and these are of the NASB. For God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline. And that kind of spoke to me as well, because with him helping me get out of that box of isolation, I am around larger and larger groups, and he does bring me people, and often it's like one person at a time. But recently, he's been working to expand that. So I was recently at a house party with a friend, and they were drinking and having conversations, and there was many different kinds of people there, um, different faiths, different backgrounds, having conversations. And I sat there and prayed, and I was so thankful for the opportunity to learn the lesson and to learn how to be around in that situation, not just around, my Christian community, which is where I started and learned how to build connections and to be around people, which, was difficult for me. But now I'm in another situation, kind of like I'd like to say real life, because you either do isolation or imitation. And you know, not that I felt compelled to partake in the drinking or swearing or telling any kind of jokes or any of that part of conversation. He gave me the boldness of, often it's a matter of what you don't say and what you don't do that speaks the loudest. And I'm thankful to God for giving me that ability to present myself in the way that would be pleasing to Him, but yet still making connections, because ultimately one of the girls and I had talked, and she revealed um, about the culture and the life here and how she felt about certain things, that I think God had opened a door for what His plans are for me here in Cyprus. So I'm excited about that. And I praise Him for every step that He has given me and the lessons that He teaches me, from, becoming this isolated person who was afraid to open and connect with people, to reteaching me how to connect in a positive and amazing way with people. So even when I have a day, like when I was in Stockholm and I had been talking to so many people along the way, but I just had this day where I just felt like I just needed to have someone to share the gospel with, and I don't always have internet, so I can't reach out to one of you or whatnot. He brought someone in, and her and I spent several days, and she toured the city with me, and we were able to share those conversations together, and it's like a recharge. And that happened again in Berlin, where he had brought this girl into my life, this woman into my life, and she was in the same boat. She had a rough day that day. So him bringing us together was so beautiful, because we both were like recharged our batteries together, speaking the gospel and sharing our stories, and just, lifting each other up. And it was just a wonderful moment. And then, honestly, strangely enough, I didn't see her after that. That wasn't God's plan. He just, He put us together at the right moment. We were able to get what we needed and helped each other out. And then I continued on my journey, and I, continued to meet many other people and, speak about my journey and about Christ, and about the wonderful things that He has done in my life, and talk about the good news. But having those people and those connections is important, and I really look forward to deepening those. So, thank you all again for joining me. hopefully you subscribed and that you're sharing the message if it touches your heart. God bless you. Keep God close and planting seeds along the way. God bless.